the different ranges of which he went, the different spheres of religion versus spirituality versus philosophies, and every type, every possibility.
When Elvis got involved with anything, he didn't do it in a small way. He did it in a very big way.
Elvis wore a Jewish star with his cross and with his TCB, and but the Jewish star was like extra protection for him. He didn't want to miss out on heaven, due to a technicality.
Someone would ask, how come you have the Star of David and the cross? And he'd say, for you to think. And that would stop you in your tracks, for you to think. And, that was something he liked to play mind games with people.
There's a book in his room of every possible religion. His potpourri of books to this day are pretty mind-blowing. When I go into his room now even, and I go through his books, it's impressive.
He'd stay up in his room and meditate for hours. He'd read books for hours.
He was interested in everything almost, and he read books about almost everything and everybody that he could read about.
It gives you a better understanding of yourself as well as other people.
Especially in the beginning, I guess the Bible was the most important book to him.
We'd have, a bunch of people over, and he'd preach out of the Bible, which was funny because his stories were entirely different than what was in the Bible. I mean, he had a whole other version, very flamboyant, very expressive, and very funny.
Well, it was kind of neat because it did give me that connection with them, because I was sort of in that, that sort of spirituality searching.
Yeah.
And when he started reading the Bible, I remember you saying, "Oh no, there he goes," and I'm like, "Oh, this is interesting. I'll hang out. I'll hang out. I'll sit here and let him read a few passages to me."
And as he got into his later life, he read books from different religions, lots of different books. The Prophet was one.
Gosh, there were so many. The Initiation of the World, Impersonal Life, Autobiography of a Yogi, Masters of the World. Just many, many things of which Elvis just gravitated to. He loved it. He sucked it in. There were also other things that he was very interested in, and one of them was the Cairo Book of Numbers. And he loved numbers. He would always have this, and he loved words. He would break words down, like woman, woman, and break them into their syllables, and then try to match what that really meant.
Elvis said, "Come here, I want to read you something." And it was from Cairo's Book of Numbers, a numerology book. Elvis had figured out that I was a number 6. I couldn't go through the whole mathematics. Elvis says, I'm a 6. He also read me number 8, his number, which was, it was really Elvis, and it was really dark, too, though. It was about leadership and everything, but you would die early in a tragic life, and it's amazing. Those are the type of things he was into.
He had stacks next to his bed. He read all the time. He'd always adamantly underline everything and write quotes next to the underlinings. Like you'll see amen with an exclamation point, and it's in all of his books. He'd read something that he really liked. You'd see underlined, and he'd write all kinds of stuff next to it, and the whole page would be just full of writing. Something he agreed with or really related to or connected with somehow.
Anything that indicated to him, he would kind of put a side note to it, and he would relate it to what he was doing at the time.
And a lot of those times, I was pretty impressed by what he was underlining, spiritually speaking, what he was, looking for, and what made sense to him.
Somebody number, way in the middle of the air. Oh, Johnny, somebody number, way in the middle of the air.
I think in the spiritual side and in the books that he read, and that search is truly trying to get some answers of where should he go, why him, what does he do now?
There's no way anyone would go through there and go, well, this is not someone who wasn't looking, for who and what he was.
In Bel Air, the sprinklers were going, it was those kind of sprinklers that would move back and forth. And the way that they were positioned, it looked like angels. And Elvis thought he was seeing angels, and he thought that they were calling him.
Lead me
So he would go out and he wanted people to come and see, you know, what he was experiencing. He would see these things and we would try so hard to see the same things that he was seeing or pointing out to us. It goes to show you his search for answers of some meaning to something. I don't feel he had or felt he had the support or backing or the understanding of who he was.
Lead me, oh Lord, won't you lead me?
But I look at myself strictly as a human being who's, like I said, been very lucky, but whose life has blood running through my veins and can be snuffed out in just a matter of seconds, you know, and not as anything supernatural or better than any other human being.
I'd like to ask Eddie Sumner and the Stamps to sing one of my favorite songs, Why Me, Lord?
He always had questions about why him? Why me? Why have I been given this talent?
He never really understood why all of the adulation.
I mean, even if you're perfect, I mean, I'm not saying, you know, that I'm perfect because no man is perfect. But there was only one perfect man, and that was Jesus Christ. And people didn't like him. You know, they killed him. And he couldn't understand why.
Jesus, my soul's in your hand.
It's lonely at the top. You hear that, it's a cliche. But for him, it was very true, because I think he was one of the first people to actually get to a place like that that was so... He was in such an ivory tower and so untouchable and so alienated after a while.
Elvis lost sight of his purpose in life, believe it or not. He honestly couldn't understand where it was all going.
I'm not real sure if he knew exactly what his purpose in life was. I don't know if any of us think we know our purpose in life. I still don't know.
Let me see
I don't think he ever understood what his special mission was.
just where I fit into your master plan.
And so that put him on this quest, which was his own. You know, it was probably incredibly lonely to be put in a situation where he's on his own trying to find his own.
When you're weary, feeling small, when tears are in your eyes, I will dry them all.
He felt that he could do so much more with his talent. When he saw all the people that he had coming to his concerts, and he knew that he touched them, but he never really knew what he was to do with it.
And friends just can't.
What did God want you to use this for?
He had so many people as his following that he felt that what could he give back that was of importance, that could be heard, that could somehow help.
Oh, like a bridge over troubled water.
And I do believe that he thought at one time that it was to be a preacher.
People, let me tell you about a kingdom coming. No, I'm saved. I'm saved. Well, I can preach until you're deaf and dumb.
He preached to us.
You never stood in that man's shoes or saw things through his eyes, or stood and watched with helpless hands while the heart inside you dies. So help your brother along the way, no matter where he starts. For the same God that made you made him too. These men with broken hearts.
I think he thought he possibly had a religious calling, that all this was going to lead to some type of way he could make mankind a little better.
I need all the help I can get.
I know that he loved what he did, and he did it to make other people happy.
I suppose the most important thing in a person's life is happiness. I mean, not worldly things, because gee whiz, I mean, you can have cars, you can have money, you can have a fabulous home, you can have everything. If you're not happy, what have you got? So I suppose that if I can just continue to make other people's life enjoyable and to make my own life happy, well, then that's all I could expect out of life.
So much admiration, so much going on all the time that it was probably somewhat therapeutic for him to shoot back out and, you know, help to do stuff for people. It helps to help people. I believe my own thing, just from knowing him, is that his spirit came through in the music, and so that's kind of what permeated whatever he did, and it would touch other spirits, and it's sort of on a different level.
Elvis came from a very special place of creativity. He did what he felt. He followed he wanted very deeply to follow his instincts. He was just really following his soul.
There was no difference between his image and who he was, except for that who he was even more important and bigger. Everything you saw that he had was what was there, what he gave, and he never lied. He never put up a front of any kind. He was who he was, and that's what came through, and his image didn't come anywhere near where he really was as a human being.
This is a man who contributed so much to our culture, to our history, to his audience. He only wanted to do good work.